let's talk money. Let's talk about how to build a business plan to grow your organization. And that's going to include tips on how to project revenue, how to determine how many products and programs you need to sell, and the number of leads it will take you to get there. If you are in the thought industry, very long, the creator economy, that's what you're in right now. Like you are creating ideas, you are a thought leader, you are selling information, and not just information, but information that facilitates a transformation for people, that helps take them from where they are to where they dream of being, where they are to where God's designed them to be, where they are to where they're determined to do the work to be. When you are doing that, at some point, you have got to have a financial base in here that's going to move this thing forward. You got to run it like a business, spreadsheets, QuickBooks, all of the financial, the accounting, taxes, all that kind of stuff. This is not going to be a talk on taxes. This is not going to be a talk on banking. This is going to be a talk on how do we project revenue, set some goals, and then get after it. So you could call this reverse engineering your income. What you're going to learn in this module is how to monetize your framework. You're going to learn how to create income projections, and then you are going to learn how to, this is really important, you're going to map the daily work to reach your goals. Which goals? Well, those financial goals, so that you can do this full-time, or so that you can reinvest the income into other projects, or to where you can make a bigger impact in other ways. Here's the overview. 5 parts. Number one, I'm going to talk about the background for this training, where it came from. It did not just emerge from thin air. There was a very specific instance that brought it up. Number two, I'm going to talk about the questions that you need to ask of yourself and your organization. You need to get honest answers for these before you can move forward. Number three, we're going to talk about identifying the offers that you have, a menu of products, and we're going to refer to it as a menu. That's not a term that I came up with. First read that in Donald Miller's book, Coach Builder. We're going to talk about doing the math. So the math on a spreadsheet, ideally, not just, pen and paper, but pen and paper is a great place to start. You want a spreadsheet, though, that updates the number. It will take some time to build this. And then we're going to get into tracking the lead measures and the lag measures and figure out where those fit. I'll highlight the difference between those. I've defined those in other modules, but we'll revisit those here. And so if that seems like kind of a crazy term right there, the lead measures and the lag measures, looking at the bottom of the screen, if you're following along, don't worry, I'll define it and it will make so much sense to you when we get there. You'll have it, I promise. Okay, part number 1 of 5, the background for this training. Several years ago, I was working with an organization called Oily App. During a year season, this is where I was running a membership organization program for them. We were releasing one new course every single month on content that we would create in the health and wellness industry. We were working kind of affiliation with an essential oil company. And so we would teach how to use their products. We would teach specific health protocols with a course every month. It was during that season that I really learned about repurposing content at a high level. That was the season where, people say, why do you always start with the book? Well, it was during that season I created a course to release on our monthly coaching. And, I would do the course, I would create the course, create the slides, and then do all the social media from the course that I made. I would readapt the slides to do the social media leading up to promote the course. We'd always do the course live on a Facebook page for 24 hours. We would leave it up, and then we would drive people to join the membership. So we'd pull it down after 24 hours to watch the replay and to get all the other content from all the past courses you could join. And it was about $30. Initially, it was $30 a year to join, and then it actually was cheaper than that. It got to be where it's $30 a month at some point to join. Anyway, after I did the first course, I released it in December of one year, and it was over the Christmas holidays. I'm sitting up there and I'm thinking, man, I'm at a meeting, and it's just kind of that holiday season. I think it was probably right before Christmas. I thought, man, it wouldn't take much work to take all of the content that I've written for the introductions to these videos, all the social media posts, all these other concepts that I've written that outline for the training. And I always have an outline that I can look at while I was teaching. I can use the graphics. It wouldn't take much more energy to put this stuff into a book template that I already had and to produce about an 80 to 100 page book, paperback, and then sell it as a lead generator to our membership. And so with that, the idea kind of flipped that, oh, it's actually easier to do the course and to do the monthly, it's an hour-long course. I'd break it up into 4 modules, teach, 15 minutes at a burst. And I thought, oh, it's easier to do that if I write the book first. So that's kind of where some of that came from. And then it was like, oh, if I've got the book, I've got something I can sell at live events. Oh, if I've got that, that's a great lead generator. People like physical products, that leads them to the course. Oh, and then that 1 year, we kind of made the goal of, I think I'm going to release 1 book a month, a short book. We actually titled the series, Short Books You'll Actually Read. And I mean, cranked out 1 new book every single month, learned about audiobooks and different ways to do audiobooks. That became a phenomenal learning season. That's part of the story that we talk about in the first part of the big Amplify book. All right, so during that oil yacht season, we're going to a vendor hall, and one of the partners, there were a few of us in that organization, one of the guys says, oh man, this is going to be phenomenal. We got all these books now. We've got this membership program. We're releasing new content every month. It's, we were going to sell it for $30 a month. I think we're going to do it for $99 a year. So you get a, man, you pay for the year, you get like a really sweet deal. And one of the guys said, oh, dude, there's going to be so many people there. We're going to have a $50,000 event. It was a 2-day event, $50,000. And while I thought, oh, that would be phenomenal. In fact, I'm not afraid of numbers. I'm going to show you an example in a little bit where a guy that we're working with that said, gave me his permission to use this example here. He said, I want to make $1 million because I want to be able to give a whole bunch of money away. And so we built a business plan to get up to $1 million a year. So the $50,000 did not scare me. However, I responded back to them and just gave them some data. So here's the data. We had a membership program. The membership program was releasing 1 new training each month using the processes outlined in Amplify's training. In fact, that membership program and how I ran that and created that became Amplify's core training. So when you read the core training, you go, where did that come from? That's where it came from. The membership platform, it had 1,500 members paying anywhere from $3 a month to $20 a month. There were a few that were paying higher, but that, it's kind of odd because most of them at that point would join for the annual rate. It depended on when they joined and how much they're paying. The first month we launched it, we got a bunch of people in cheap and said, we will never raise the price on you. You get in now at this low price. And a bunch of them did, and they stayed for years. 2018, I wrote a book per month, which we sold regularly at live events to lead people towards the membership program. We had a great following, but here's the kicker. I had done vendor halls before, and the most I had ever hit was $7,500. Now, I remember going to these conventions, especially in the essential oil world, and I would take my kids and 2 of my girls would run the table for me, and I'd always pay them a percentage of whatever we sold off of gross sales. And I would pay them like 1%. I would guarantee them like $10 an hour, but say, hey, I'll pay you 1% of sales up to a certain point, and then after we cross this threshold, I'll retro and pay you 2% off of everything. Like I knew I'm going to pay a total of about 5% of whatever we sell to them, and that's fine because I'm giving them money. I'm going to take them. They're going to buy some shoes with the money that otherwise I would have had to buy. We're going to enjoy the time together. I would rather pay them a couple $100 each than other people. And then of course they're buying an old stuff I would have had to buy as their father anyway. So it was kind of a win-win. We're teaching them it's exciting, all this kind of stuff. But I'd only hit 7,500, for which I'm grateful. I mean, we used to fund the business trip from that vendor hall and then fund the vacation after the work trip from the vendor hall. So it worked great. But that led me to tell the team $50,000, that estimate at a vendor hall with a live event such that we were going to have at that table, it was too high. They're like, why is it too high? So then that leads into this conversation where I've got to explain why I'm not the killjoy. I'm just giving them facts and figures. So I figured out, look at the screen right there. If we had one customer every 5 minutes, now that's quick. But say we're churning one customer every 5 minutes, and each customer spends $30. Now I get it. You got these seasons where you got people like like running a transaction, and then 15 seconds later, another transaction. He's got multiple people doing checkout. And you got, 15 seconds later, another transaction. But then you got all this dead time and everything. So if the average person spends $30 and we have 12 people per hour coming in, that means, because they're trying to make this off the membership, not the books. I mean, by then a lot of people already had our books. That means we can make $30 12 times an hour. Because you got to show them how to join this membership. This isn't just like buying a shirt. Oh, I want this. Boom. Like you got to show them how to log in and all that. So if we do 12 an hour, that's $360 an hour. If we're there for 10 hours, that means we can make $3,600 a day. If we're there for 2 days, that means we can make $7,200 off the membership plus, all the books and stuff we sell. So they're thinking at a live event, this membership platform is going to make a huge amount of money. And I just knew it takes a little bit of time to explain it. It takes a little people signing up. It's, it is what it is. So if I doubled that, doubled what? The $7,200, accounting for sales where people just walk up and, hand us the merchandise. Go, hey, I want these books. It's $100 sale because they buy the whole bundle of all the books. I told them, we might hit 14,000, 15,000 at the most. In other words, I wasn't disbelieving in the power of our product. I wasn't pooing on how worthy or how valuable the information was. It was just when we practically look at the goal, it was not attainable given the time constraints. To hit $50,000, we need to expand outside of that event and promote that membership program to an online audience and run some promotions during that time to people who were not just the people in the room. Okay, so again, the background of this was very practical that to make our profit goals, you got to put in some real world constraints. Like you got to actually account for what you're dealing with. So here's the application. Look at it on the screen. We need to make our profit goals very practical so we can achieve them. It doesn't mean we dumb them down. It simply means we create a path that will actually get us to where we want to go. Okay. Again, you don't dumb it down. You don't think less of your stuff. You're just getting very practical about how many do we need to sell? Okay. What's going to account for those sales? What are the time constraints? What are the leads? How many people have to walk through the doors in order to actually sell that much merchandise? You start actually looking at the tangibles that lead to results. That is the background for this training module. So, number 2, you need to ask yourself 8 questions, and you need to get honest answers for these questions, for all 8 of them before you can move forward. And without these 8, I don't think that you can do it. So, question number 1, what income goal do you want to hit? And I mean, you need to get specific, no matter how big or how small it is. So like right now, I've got, honestly, I'm wanting to hit some big income goals. No secret, several years ago, started over in life. Mid-age, started over. And so kind of wanted to make up some time, make up some momentum, all that kind of stuff. Got some big income goals. Right now, my dad's income goals, they're not that big. He's, in his mid-70s, and he's really thinking, if I sold enough books, this is his logic, even though he's got a great online presence now. If I sold enough books, to kind of fund my mission trips, that'd be great. His income is settled. He's got a little nest egg set up. his house, all the things that he needs to take care of, they're all taken care of. He's planned well throughout his entire life. And so right now, he literally, what's the income goal? I mean, well, how much is it to go on, 3 mission trips a year? Plus, if I want to bring somebody on the family with me, plus if anybody else in the family wants to go on, my brother-in-law goes on mission trips, if he wants to help fund that or fund, some of the grandkids going with some of the, siblings or some of the, in-laws, and like what income goal, like it'd be a lot different. So you get a spreadsheet like this on the screen, and you actually go, what is, and I factor all these in monthly income, because you want to do an annual, maybe just times 12, right? What's the income? Number two, get very honest about what specific products and programs do you currently have that you can sell, and what is their exact price point. So what products and programs, and how much do you, not necessarily what's the retail highest price, best case scenario. I mean, like, what actually do you actually sell them at? If nobody buys them unless they go on sale, and then you run a sale and a lot of people buy them, you factor that number. But build this out. Here it is on the spreadsheet. And you could even, let me just expand the circle. Okay, that's the joy of like editing this while you're on the fly. So what's the product or program right there? What's the profit per, what's the price point? I've got to kind of figured this on profit per, because I can just say, hey, each book's going to gain X amount, and each course, it's digital, it's all profit on that. Question number 3. How many do you need to sell of that, or what combination do you need to sell in order to hit that income goal? So like if my income goal, let's just make it up, is let's just say my income goal is $1. That's what's at the bottom of the screen here. And my program cost $1. Well, I need to sell one of them to hit my goal of $1. Well, what if my goal is $1,000? Well, I need to sell 1,000 of them if they're $1. If they're $2, I need to sell 500 of them to hit that $1,000. You see how that works. Question number 4. And if you don't see how it works, just hit pause and print the slides that are available. If you're watching, if you're listening, you kind of need to click over to the video. But if you're watching, just print it out. Question number 4. How many leads, read, eyeballs that see your sales page, convert and make a purchase? So, if you want to sell X amount, everybody that sees that book, course, program, product, live event, ticket, whatever, doesn't buy it. So what's the conversion percentage? Now, 1% right here is just a placeholder, but, realistically, you might say, well, 5 out of every 100 people that land on my book sales page buy the book. Okay, we're going to get down to it. We're going to work through it. We're going to figure it out. Where do you get leads? And how can you acquire more so you can keep directing people to the offers that you have, to the sales pages, to the opt-ins, to the funnels? So it's not necessarily that you're directing them directly to the offer, but you're pointing them in that direction. So the path to the offer may be, okay, they go to an opt-in first, the opt-in leads them to something, but where are you going to get those people? And how can you acquire, let's just say, how can you acquire more? So keywords right there. Where do you get them? How can you acquire more? Are there networking events? Can you run some online advertising? Can you meet some other people? Can you do some affiliate programs? Can you, expand your email list? Can you go hot on social media? Can you start thinking about all these other possibilities? Question number 6. Which specific behaviors of yours drive those leads? What are you doing that collects leads? And what are you doing that can increase them? So examples might be podcasting, live videos, reels, networking events, those sorts of things. Okay, this is kind of a follow-up to question number 5. These kind of fit close together. So where do you get them? How can you get more? Okay, what specific behaviors drive those leads? Question number 7. What next steps do you have in place to continue nurturing buyers and sending them up the value ladder so they continue purchasing them or purchasing other offers from you? So the idea here is sometimes it's easier to lead an existing customer deeper in your funnel or higher in your value ladder than it is to go find a new customer. So if you continue having next best steps for your customers, many of those customers will take those next best steps. In fact, there is an industry average that says 10% of the people that are currently in your ecosystem will pay you 10 times the amount that they've currently paid you if you show them the value for that offer. So what does that mean? Well, that means that if I've got a bunch of people in my ecosystem, and let's just say 1,000 of them have bought a $10 book, that means 10% of them, if I show them the value, 10%, 100 of them would buy a $100 course. And out of that 100, if I show them the value, 10 of them would buy a $1,000 coaching program. Do you see that? And if that happens, by leading people higher in the value ladder, that's less leads entering at a lower price point that I need to find as I take people higher up the value ladder, deeper into the funnel. Okay, so final question, number 8, what entry points do you have low ticket on autopilot that lead people forward to make ever increasing purchases for you? So this is, okay, is there a plan in place to generate leads? And if so, is there a place and a way that on autopilot they can, it's like in my world, let me just say this, like I've got a daily email list. I send out a devotional email every single morning, and at the bottom of that email, it always has a low ticket offer every single morning. Now, almost every day, somebody buys something off that email list. And when they buy it, it's always going to lead them to a next best step. And then if they buy that, it's always going to lead them to a next best step. And if they buy that, it's always going to lead them to a next best step. So what entry points do you have low ticket that can, on autopilot, lead people forward to make ever increasing purchases with you? And then remember, back to question 7, these all start fitting together. Once they're in, is there something there that continues sending them up the value ladder? Okay, these are questions that you need. And if you don't have all these, here's the reality. You probably do not have all these in place. Well, that's not bad. It just means, hey, only by asking the question can we actually build out something that's bigger, that's more robust. So you're not going to build it all overnight. That's okay. It's just, though, you build a little bit and then, add on a little bit later. Okay, and then we get that. Oh, we'll add on a little bit more. Oh, okay, now we add on a little bit more. So you just kind of bit by bit by bit keep adding this on. Okay,